Good morning and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show this morning, the 8th of July 2021. I welcome everyone joining us from different parts of the world, from different parts of the country, Nigeria. Thank you for keeping a date with us and for being here this morning. It's our pleasure to always present and to bring to you a fresh edition of the program every morning, Monday to Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. My name is Folu Faladun, and I will be holding the fort this morning. Uh, for those joining us for the first time, we say welcome. And our lineup usually is that we start off with the headlines from the world of education. We try to go around, look at some of the things trending in the news every day, and take some comments about them. After that, we go on to the topic of the day, which analysts will be joining us to look at. Today, we have another very interesting topic to consider. But before we go on to that, we will start off with the headlines. However, our show this morning will be a little less than the usual 1 hour because of we have some duties to children at 9 a.m. that have to be carried out to without missing losing out on any second. We would go on to the headlines. Good morning, Gideon SCN. It's nice to have you back on the show. We have missed seeing you around here. Our first headline this morning: NASU decries state of libraries and reading culture. The Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, has decried the dilapidated state of some libraries across the nation. It said most of them have been turned into museums for ancient books. And for the National Deputy President of the Union, Obabumi Sunday, regretted that ancient books now dominate facilities in the country. Yes, I speak, understand what he's saying, and to some extent can identify with what he's saying. I mean, I visited a library, I think last, no, it wasn't last year, it must have been 2019, before the pandemic. And first of all, they don't open on certain days. And just getting into that place, it had this feel that wasn't welcoming. It really felt like a museum. And I'm wondering how many of, especially public libraries were you thin in the country before. Many of our parents, grandparents had access to public libraries where they could read up on materials, where they could research, where that was very instrumental to their academic journey. But these days, what we have is rundown libraries, and just like the National Vice President of NASU has pointed out, many of the books there, very many of them are no longer relevant to the current ages. So this is a call to those in charge of this, and those who can effect change in the sector to upgrade, especially our public libraries. For private libraries, we still have IT equipment, we have internet connection, um, computer systems that people can connect and read up on relevant materials. We really need to do better with this. Okay, our next headline: Adeboye underscores importance of technical education. And just coming on the heels of talking about the states that our libraries have gone into and what they are right now, I think that this is just this is just the right headline to come after that. So, the proprietor, Redeemers College of Technology and Management, Pastor Enoch Adejare Adeboye, has underscored the importance of not just raising technical students to be skilled workers and employers of labor, but also ensuring that they are God fearing and law abiding, becoming responsible employers and employees. Adeboye, who doubles as General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, spoke at the first convocation ceremony of RECTEM, where graduating students were awarded national diploma certificates with prizes. Yes, there is no denying the fact or uh, that technical education and not just technical education but technological education is important to the development of education and to the students. And this is why I would always take that stand that upgrading polytechnics or upgrading some other special colleges to universities is not the way to go. Each of these institutions have roles that they play for a holistic education experience. First of all, kudos to the Redeemers College of Technology and Management, and we're hoping that many more people take advantage of this institution and are able to take to um, get into the services also, and more students enrolling. This is the first convocation. We hope to see many more of that. The next headline: Lasubeb describes education as tool to fight poverty. I mean, in an age where some people are actively fighting education and saying no, it's the root of all our problems, it's unnecessary exposure for our children, then it's instructive that the executive chairman of the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, LASUBEB, Wahab Alawiye King, has said education is the only tool to fight poverty, saying the government must give its best towards education of its people. And an uneducated people or an uneducated society, community is just um, uh, it is shooting itself in the foot, because exposing the mind, and education is not just about going to a school, it's not just formal, it's not just being uh, well where we enroll in. It's about opening up the minds of people to learning, not just as it has been, so it is, so will it ever be. It's giving people the giving them the opportunity to open up their minds to look at things in a different way and to say, oh, how can we make this better? How can we make things work smoother? What if this particular system has not been working? What else can we do? That really is what education is, and it's what we all should be putting hands together to ensure it works and to ensure that it works perfectly. So for the LASUBEB boss, that's a good call, and hopefully that message goes round, and we can all contribute our quota to making it work. The next headline we're going to say is Alumni Association instrumental to education sector success. I think was it yesterday or day before when we talked about we made mention of when we talked about financing college education, we made mention of having the alumni chime in to finance the maybe for indigent students in their alma mater, and well, we considered a number of factors that could aid or stand in the way of that. Now, the president, Jubril Martin Memorial Grammar School Old Student Association, has said alumni associations have a vital role to play for their alumni matter to attain success in Nigeria's education sector. He said this at the handing over of the renovated school library and reunion of the 1971 to 75 and 77 sets in Lagos. And this set that is handing over a library to their school just confirms what uh, the theory I had is not, I haven't done any research on that, but just from observation, have seen that usually it's the older set. So we're seeing 71 to 76, 77, the 70s, sets that graduated in the 70s, and they're looking back and saying, oh, this is not how it used to be. They're donating a library, refurbished, maybe a refurbished or renovated or a new library entirely. I don't know which one of it. So their alma mater, and saying, we want to see things get better. We want to see the current students have better access to books and to resources. And so, yes, the alumni body, definitely we can't rule out the role that and the roles that they play in ensuring the roles they play the um, in ensuring that there is better education, and that the sector is more fully developed. We need them to join hands together with the schools to make the system a lot better. So it's calling out to alumni association for schools that have very strong alumni bodies. We see them, we see what they do, and for those who feel, oh well, I can't be bothered, really, it's a good opportunity to give back and to be relevant to the success of others. And with that, we come to the end of our headlines this morning, and we will be going to the topic of today. The topic is let's talk about grants. So on our show, we've been having we've been having grants of the day come up. We've been having talking about opportunities for funding that are available in different areas for different people. And so this morning we really want to look at grants. What are grants? How do we access grants? How do we make the most of grants? And it's a good time and a good opportunity to say that the grants development webinar organized by the team masters, and most especially a pair from the Good Morning Education show. That's Omotola Akishola and Rotimi Eitayo. Is coming up. It's just next week Saturday, so there's not much time anymore. You need to register. You need to register today. You need to use the link. The link was in the comment section yesterday. It's going to be here again today. You need to use the link and register for that webinar. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in, so you can be part of it because it's on Zoom. The webinar is on Zoom, and you will be exposed to many more things about grants that we can't cover now, but that will be explained further in that meeting. So, what exactly are grants, and why is it difficult for people to access grants? I would say first that grants are very different from loans. When people take loans, when we're talking about financing education, one of the things that came up, one of the options was that some people do take loans. And I recently heard a father saying that he just finished paying up the loan the loans that he took to finance his children's education. And yes, so sometimes people take loans, but there are times that the projects that you have, you've been thinking of, or something to do for indigent students, for physically disabled, for mentally challenged, something for gender based, for boys, girls, something for children. You know, there are several projects that these ideas, but then the only thing standing between the idea and its execution is funding, is proper, the right kind of funding. And so this is where grants come in. So rather than take loans, rather than take loans that becomes a burden on the executor of the project, there are so many grant opportunities open. And these grant opportunities, okay, so I was going to differentiate between grants and loans. While loans are repayable, grants are not repayable. So once you win a grant and the funds are disbursed, they will be used for the project. They monitor to ensure that they're used for the projects that they were awarded for, but then it's a one time. Once you get that funding, you're not returning it. So that's how organizations, individuals, families, you know, for some it's a legacy project, just giving back to the society and saying, oh, we want to ensure that the world is a better place for everybody. So how do we access these loans? Where sorry, I just say loans, these grants. Where are grants only from out of the country? No, there are grant opportunities open in within the country also. We only need to be in our network, just like we spoke about yesterday, that our network, we need to leverage our network. So we're talking to the right people and saying, oh, I have I have this project. If you come across, any opportunities for grants in this area, I would be interested. And so we look out for these opportunities. Some of them, I know there is the biggest one I know of right now is the opportunities desk. You come across so many different work opportunities, grant opportunities, collaboration opportunities at that website. So yes, we have grants open within and without the country. And why is it difficult for people to access grants? That's a big question. That's one thing that people come across a lot when it comes to grants. It's like people hardly get grants, or I've heard somebody say before. I share I shared a grant link with someone some years ago, and she just said, "No, no, no, I'm not interested. The people that will get the grants have already um, been pre qualified." That's her. That was her response. That they've been pre-qualified. So there is no point. I will not waste my time putting in an application for a grant when I don't know anybody there. But the without the right information, definitely we will be doing things wrong and be getting we'll be getting the same results. One of the things we need to know is that competition for grants uh, uh, is high. So many people are applying for grants every day. So many people are taking opportunities at So many people are taking advantage of the grant opportunities open and are applying on a daily basis. So we should realize that the competition is stiff, the competition is high, and because of that, and because the competition is so high and it's so stiff, the money, the funds, the available funds are not very the available funds are not enough to go round. So definitely not everybody that applies for a grant will get it. And so it's essential that we properly positioned to get this grant. One person that is really to talk about has just joined us, has just walked into the studio. I'm not sure she can hear me right now, but we will continue the show waiting for Ugochi, hoping that the network cooperates.
Good morning, Queen. Can you
And
hear
that,
me now?
oh, okay. Okay, yes, I can hear you now. Good morning.
Okay, awesome. Good morning.
So, we're talking about grants this morning, and I know you have been able to access some grants. You have gotten some grants. How did you, what would you say
Hello, Finny. Can you still hear me? I lost you after what would you say?
Hello, Gochi.
Okay, I lost you after you said what would you say?
I didn't hear that.
I lost you when you were asking me a question where you said what would you say, and then I didn't hear the rest.
Oh, okay. I said, what would you say is responsible for, or why do you think you got the grants that you have gotten so far? What was responsible for your success? What did you do right?
Okay, so I would say that unique applications are critical. They are very important. Many people are doing somehow the same thing, or they are communicating the same thing. However, when people that give grants want to give grants, they're trying to give grants to unique solutions, and many of them try to touch on as many types of solutions, that's a variety of solutions as possible. So if, for example, 10 people submit let's say, for example, they all submit a solution on a car wash business, right? And all of them are providing a similar way of doing that car wash business. If there is just one person whose model stands out the most, only that person will be taken, and then they would give a chance for other people doing other variety of businesses. So they sometimes the uniqueness of your proposal, the innovativeness of your proposal is actually what stands you out. So maybe you are solving a different problem, or you are solving the same problem in a different way. Those are some of the things that can make your application to stand out. And then, of course, people want to see um, proof of concept and proof of accountability. So what do I mean by that? They don't want you to there are some grants that will tell you to submit an idea, but there are many grants that don't want an idea. They want something that you have already piloted, it has already worked, and then you want to now do more, so that they can see that there is a possibility for that money not going to waste, that the money is actually going to do something tangible in your business. So it's not advisable that when you're applying for a grant, you don't even have anything that has been done before. At least just try, even if you have done something for free before along that line, make sure that you have something tangible that has been done. Yes. And then also accountability. They want to see how can this thing be a success, even if they are no longer giving you money. What structures have you put in place to ensure that even without their grants, maybe in the next cycle, you are still able to do well? Yes. So those are key elements that makes an application to stand out. And those are the things I think that helped me, because I, for one, I was proposing solutions on safety education. I think I was a bit different from almost every other person doing maybe girl child, poverty, maternal health, and then just education general. So mine was safety. So it was different, right? Then an innovative method of doing it. So I was doing storybooks, African inspired storybooks, and using leveraging technology for what I'm doing. And then of course proof of concept. I had already done something. So in my responses, I could show that, oh, I had visited school. This is what we're this feedback we're getting from the children. This is the feedback we're getting from the parents. And then of course a proof of sustainability. So even if you don't bring your fund, this is how we plan to raise fund by selling so and so kinds of product or so and so kinds of services. So I think that those things are important when packaging your responses so that it gets the grant. And then also there is the thing of luck also, because you might do everything right and you still don't get a grant. It doesn't mean that your application was not good enough. It may just be that the application was not for you, or they feel like you already have enough going on and you don't really need their help, or you're just not the right fit. So I think it's important to mention this, because many times people get so deflated and lose their sense of worth because maybe they keep getting rejection letters or they didn't get something. Many times you not getting a grant has nothing to do with you. It may just be that they've exhausted their quota, or you are not the gender they are looking for, or you are not the age bracket they are looking for, or you are just not in the catchment area. Like, so many things could be the reason why they didn't pick you, if most especially when you put in a solid application. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Gochi. You have touched a lot of things. And one thing I hear from all that you have said is applying for a grant and being successful at getting a grant requires requires thinking above the status quo and saying, oh, everybody is doing awareness about drug use, for instance. And
Mm-hmm.
so I also want to do awareness about drug use. And what am I going to do? Oh, I'll do posters. I'll visit schools and talk to students about it. If that's what everybody does.
Exactly.
You really do not need a grant to do that. You can always get in your car or pick a taxi and go to school and talk to students about it. But I hear you see it. I hear that that we need to think. We need to be innovative in our thinking. And so applying for a grant is not just, oh, this is a lot of money, and oh, if I had money now, I know what we say that a lot. That, if money enters my hand now, I know what I will do with it. It's not just I know what I'll do with it. It's also knowing how to tailor what you want to do. And one other thing I picked from what you said is, so there's a need to carve your niche in out of a wide. So we're not just saying that, oh, I'm targeting the female child. You're saying I'm targeting safety for the female child, for instance. So everything that has to do with safety for the female child, I'm talking to them about maybe empowering them in martial arts, for instance. I'm teaching them what to do, to maybe how to kick and run, maybe everything that just has to do with safety in that regard is what I'm targeting. And so it's easier to be focused and to say, oh, this and this is how I'm going to carry out the my project if I got this grant. So if somebody has applied for grants a number of times and they have been denied, what should they do with the grant application fatigue?
So just to be sure I heard you clearly, because your voice mumbled up a bit. You said if somebody has been applying for a grant and they did not get it, what should they be what?
they not just one, they have applied for grants over time and they did not get it. What can they do? Okay, it looks like Ugochi just dropped out of the studio now, but what I was asking was to know, what do we do with grant fatigue? Is it something, do I stop and say, it hasn't worked out so far? I've applied for 3, I've applied for 4, and nothing seems to be working. I think this grant thing is not for me. It's time to move on, and it's time to move on to something else, and maybe go source for funds somewhere else, do crowdfunding, do family something, just get other people to chime in. But while we wait for Goju to come back, I would say personally, I feel if you have tried once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 6 times, 10 times sometimes, it's not enough reason to give up. I think what you should do is find out what you're doing wrong. From what Ugochi has said, sometimes you may just be applying for the grant, for the wrong grant. You might not have read the details properly, and you're not within the age bracket they're looking for. It may be that you're not in the right country or the right zone or in the right region. This thing sometimes feels like job applications. When people are applying for jobs, they just say, look, put in your application. It doesn't matter. Even if you don't fit in, just put it in and let's see what happens. Maybe a miracle will happen. Sometimes grant applications are like that. People just put it in and say, well, let's see, taking on maybe employing the last points that Ugochi mentioned about luck, and say, let's see if I'll be lucky with this. It doesn't matter. But I would say that if you have been, if you have repeatedly put in for grants and you haven't gotten it, or you're not successful at it, go back, look at it again. What did you put in? Look at those parameters that Ugochi has mentioned. How creative is it? How sustainable is the solution that you're proposing? Because nobody really wants to put the money into something that the lifespan is very short. If this project kicks off now in 2, 3, 4 months, that's it. It's done. It's not sustainable. It's not something that has a long lifespan. They want to be sure that it's that. And also remember that this is highly competitive. So it may be that, sometimes we get to know about a grant maybe a few days or the day it's closing sometimes. And you may not have the time to fully put together a proper application. And this could be the reason the grants or your grant requests are turned down. So yes, I would say that look at it again, consider what you have put in, ask people, ask for help, sign up for the grants development webinar. Some of these things will be trashed out there, some of these reasons, and practical ways of putting in an application has been practical ways of putting in applications will be treated. So that's what I would say about that. And I would also say that if you're probably not very good at writing a grant application, you really do not have to do it by yourself. And one of the things that we deal with in this part of the world is this secrecy about everything. And we mentioned that when we talked about networking, the secrecy about everything. You don't want the next person to know what you're doing, so they don't take the opportunity away from you, or so they don't copy you. You want to be the only one shining. If you do not know how to write a grant application, please reach out for help. Ask somebody. Ask people who are professional. There are professionals at writing grant application, at writing grant applications rather, you can reach out to them and ask for their help in writing your inputting in your grant application. So we will be rounding off on the show in about 5 minutes so that we can join the kids. We have an event with just some minutes after from 9 o'clock basically. But thank you to everyone who's been here. Ugochi, I am really, really hoping we can have Ugochi come on again before we leave. I'm hoping we can get her come on again so that we get her thoughts, we get her maybe her pattern shots on grants and applying for successful grants and where to look really. I think that's a very important one, where to look. But well, let's see what the network is doing with our with us this morning. So but in the meantime, I would like to thank everyone who has been Thank you for being here so far. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. Oh, okay. Just before we leave, Ugochi is here. Welcome back, Ugochi.
Thank you, Fee. Okay.
All right. So yes, I think I'll just take your last shots on grants, where to look, what to do with grants.
A grant to the show.
I didn't hear that.
I said Gucci was granted access to the show.
Okay, so Ugochi, your application was successful. Okay, so we will be ending the show a little earlier today, but before we go, we will take your comments, your parting shots on what people should do. Where should we really look out? Where should we look for grants, and what do we do? What do people do with the frustration of repeated rejection of grant applications?
Okay, so I'll start with grant fatigue, because there is something like that. When you keep applying for something, you keep applying and you keep getting all those polite rejection emails, it could do something to your mind. And so one of the things I always like to say to people is you are not supposed to apply for everything. Only apply for what aligns to where you're going. You cannot be wanting to do something in business, and the grant is focused on businesses in Africa. And then you, in that application, you're talking about what you want to go and do in China. That is not the focus of the grant. You can't impose your own wants and beliefs on the funder, because they have their own strategic direction for the year. So when only apply for what aligns with what you want. So you want money, you need a network of African entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs from across the world. Then apply with organizations or funders who are giving you network and funds to the target audience that you need. It's not where they are talking about agriculture. You are going there with your fashion business, and you have not even linked how the fashion business is going to infuse in agriculture, because sometimes there's a way these things can be an intersection. So it's really, really critical that only apply for what aligns, because if you apply for everything, of course, your plan does not fit. And so you get rejections, and then it's going to affect you, and then you will feel bad, and then the cycle goes on. The next thing is, when you do something and it does not work, get help. I applied for the Tony Lumelu Foundation grant 3 times. It was the 3rd time that I got it. The only difference is I noticed, because then when you apply for the Tony Lumelu Foundation grant, it's on the same website. So when you go the 2nd time to apply, you see what you said the previous year. So when I saw what I said in my 1st year and I responded for the 2nd year, I could see growth. I could see that by the 2nd year, I knew more. I had done some things as opposed to the 1st year when it was still an idea. But by the 2nd year, there had been traction. Now, I still did not get it. By the 3rd time, I went to go and meet those that have collected this money before. Please, how do people used to do this thing? They taught me, in fact, they first of all, they sent me on an errand. They gave me books to read. I read it, then I responded following the parameters from the books I read. Then I now took it back to them to review. That showed seriousness. Many times people want to just help them to feel they don't want to do the work. If you are not willing to do the work, then pay the fee for somebody else to do the work on your behalf. But if you are not able to pay the fee for someone to do the work on your behalf, then the best you can do is follow the instructions you have been given, study, play your part, so that when you now submit something to them to review, they can see you have made yourself easy to be helped. So it's really critical that be willing to do the work. By the time I did that and I applied the third time, in fact, the person that reviewed my work said, "You're getting it this time. Don't worry, you're getting it." And for real, I got it. Because I could see that the difference was clear. I had grown from my first application in the first year to this third one. So be willing to get help. And of course, don't rely on only grants. Look for other opportunities to raise money, friends and family, selling certain products and services and all that. Now, where can you find grants? I always say everybody should go to opportunitydesk.org. Opportunity Desk has everything. And then there's opportunity for Africans. But in fact, Opportunity Desk just has everything. Now, if you really want to get grants seriously, what you can do is you can automate the process of checking Opportunity Desk. I remember that last year in the first quarter, I had a day on my phone where an alarm would go off that would say, check Opportunity Desk. It went off once a week. And when that alarm goes off, my cue was to stop whatever I'm doing, go to Opportunity Desk and look around. Is there anything that suits what I need at this point in time? And I did that for the first quarter until I had gotten enough opportunities, and then I shut down that alarm. I still suggested this to one of my mentees some days ago because she now wants to take her work international. I said, you've got to automate checking opportunities, because if you just have it in your head, you will do it. You may not necessarily do it. What gets scheduled gets done. So automate the process of checking, because when you go to Opportunity Desk, there are different categories. There's scholarship, there is competition, there are fellowships. It's arranged accordingly. So when you go there, you would see all those things. And please only apply for what aligns with what you are doing and where you are going. It's not enough for it to align with what you are doing. It should also align with the future that you see. So I wanted something that would give me contact across the African continent. And so I got the Tunelumelu one. I got the AWEC for women entrepreneurs. I got the Mandela Worship, because those ones are really big on African entrepreneurs, and that's because I really want to increase my reach across the African continent. So it's really important that you don't just look for that suits what you're doing, and what also aligns with your future direction for what you are doing. So thank you so much, Finn, for the opportunity to share.
I'm glad you could come in again. I'm glad you could share, because what you have shared with us is very, very important and very useful to grant application and for people who would want to apply for grants. And at this point, good morning, it's Ajay.
Good morning.
You came in just as we were rounding off.
Wow.
We need to round off a little earlier this morning.
Okay.
There is a competition we need to join. Yes, but thank you for showing up. I like your hair. I like your hair. Thank you to everyone. We have granted his grants to join the show this morning hasn't been signed off on, so we're keeping him in the cooler. We're keeping him in the cooler this morning. I know he's going to come for me when he gets on the show, but for this morning, I have that leverage. So thank you so much for joining us, Gochi. Thank you so much for the insights, and for everyone who has joined us this morning, Gideon Essien, Eunice Ohamigwe, thank you for joining us. Have a great day ahead. And with that, we are signing off with our usual. Let's take it off this morning on a very bright note. Yeah. Set. Let's go. Yeah. It's always
It's always
a
a
great
great
morning
morning
on the Good
on the
Morning
Good Morning
Education Show.
Education.
Bye.
Bye.